Hello, guys. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Today our story from the user Poetry of Logicaladias, and it is called My 42F Husband, 43M, says he doesn't care about any of the housework, so I shouldn't expect him to recognize that it needs to be done. How do I make him understand that this is part of the basic function of a home? Story. Married 15 years, together 18, preteen kids. He grew up in a home where they weren't allowed to have friends over because it was too messy. It wasn't quite paths through ceiling-high mountains of junk level, but it wasn't far from it. My family of origin's home wasn't sterile and showroom ready by any means, but it was far enough from him experience that it isn't surprising that we have different expectations, which is the source of our ongoing conflict. For most of our relationship, he worked full-time while I tended to kids in the house and worked part-time. That balance has now tipped the other way, and I'm looking for him to pick up the home management now. He is genuinely kind and giving and wants to make me happy, but he simply doesn't understand why I care that the dishes be done regularly or toilets cleaned once a month. He thinks there's no reason to do dishes until there aren't any clean ones left to use. The black ring inside the toilet doesn't keep it from working, so why bother cleaning it? He values efficiency and logic above almost all else, and to him it makes sense not to waste energy putting things in a cabinet if they are more accessible sitting on the counter. There is likely some undiagnosed neurodivergence lurking around as well. I want to be clear. I'm not accusing him of being mean or lazy or neglectful. I really do think that he thinks he is doing what is necessary, and to him bare minimum equals just the right amount, because it wouldn't be efficient to do any more than is strictly necessary. His suggested compromise is for me to ask him to do specific things or to leave him a list. I find it exhausting to be put in charge of managing his chores along with all the rest, and it will always be easier for me to pick up that stray sock on the floor myself than to write it on a list for him. To him, I have unreasonably high expectations, and he has no hope of ever meeting them. I think I've already dialed back my expectations a lot. Vacuum every 2 weeks, never dust. Wipe down bathroom surfaces ideally once a week, but usually every 2-3 weeks. Kitchen counter is only truly clear of dirty dishes when company comes, but hopefully doesn't have more than a day's dishes piled up. Chairs in family room don't stay piled with backpacks and shopping more than a day, etc., etc. Question 1. Is that an abnormal threshold of cleanliness? I'm willing to be told that I am being an unreasonable neat freak and that it is my burden to adjust expectations. Question 2. Please suggest reasonable, balanced resources that convey why I am so exhausted being solely in charge of all the household management. This isn't just the chores, but more the organizing of who does the chores and finding a gymnastics class and scheduling the doctor and vetting various orthodontists and making sure the kids have practiced piano and noticing that there is rotten siding that needs to be fixed, and so many other things. If they aren't actionable items currently on his job list, he doesn't realize they need to be done, and he doesn't understand why I am seething with exhaustion and resentment at having to keep up with it all. But me saying that doesn't help, because only half the people in the relationship see it as an issue, and he thinks I'm the one that is unreasonable. And maybe I am. I'm really trying to be open-minded and to be willing to admit that I'm out of line. But if not, then I need other resources to communicate that to him in a way that he understands. I realize today that he has literally never not lived with a woman. I don't know his roommates from his 20s, not girlfriends, just female roommates. But I'm wondering if they just did all this stuff and he didn't realize it, so he has literally never seen the outcome of no one managing a household for months on end. He says he doesn't care if the chores ever get done, but I wonder if they have just gotten done behind the scenes. And so he hasn't experienced the consequences of how chaotic life is, with no one managing the details. He says that his longest roommate from that years was virtually never there, basically lived with her boyfriend, and maybe it's true that no one was doing those tasks. Our expectations are wildly out of line with each other. I think we do a decent job of trying to communicate openly, but it doesn't close the gap. We each think the other one is being unreasonable, and we want to figure out who it is. Comment 1 from user Hybrid Outcast. The entire list is fantastic, but I think the fourth point here is what is most important. So far the onus, the mental responsibility, the burden of proof is solely on you. You must be the one to convey to him why such standards of living and cleanliness are necessary. What's to stop him from moving the goalposts once you do? You could send 10,000 articles praising how clean homes help mental health, keep pathogens at bay, keep areas safe, prevent pests, keep the value of the property high, etc., etc., etc. But that doesn't address the imbalance. It doesn't address his indifference. The fourth point of After Distribution 69's list puts it solely back on him. Make him justify why an unclean home is better for everyone. Comment 2 from user Dances 78. I was about to recommend Eve Rodsky's Fair Play book and cards as well. The process takes that logic he's leaning on and turns it back to a place of balance and reason, instead of using it to justify his own laziness. Once you see the cards literally laid out, it's hard to dispute the imbalance, but nobody is getting blamed for it. There's a spirit of us versus the problem. Her writing style is kind, funny, and relatable as well. Fair play. Comment 3 from user Jupasta. If there is undiagnosed neurodivergence at play, saving them up may be a way for him to gain enough motivation to do the activity. For someone with executive dysfunction, it's often much, much harder to do tasks in small, short bursts, rather than one big sustained burst when the task has reached a level of urgency. That doesn't mean it's acceptable to just ignore chores altogether, just that routine may look different when dealing with neurodivergence. Often, people in these circumstances find it helpful to build routine around a physical cue of some kind. For example, the dishes have reached this line that I marked in the sink, rather than a time limit. For example, every evening after dinner. And regardless, though, you can't get anywhere if the guy won't admit he has a problem and take accountability for finding a solution. So I think OP probably needs to start with making it clear to her partner that his need for pure efficiency may very well be because he finds it very hard to do anything inefficiently, and that's actually abnormal. There's a difference between choosing to be efficient and feeling like inefficient action is awful and exhausting. So maybe if OP starts there, she can find some common ground feeling exhausted by aspects of household labor, then pivot into getting him to empathize with her own exhaustion. Then they could start to explore solutions as a team again. Update, we considered hiring a cleaner. But that doesn't address the issue of managing all the details, including finding the cleaner, and telling them what to do, and picking up the clutter that keeps the cleaner from getting to the floor to clean it. Really, I'm looking for good, balanced articles that explain why it's hard to do all that management. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel. See you again.